So this site, SemiAccurate, is reporting to have some insider info on the upcoming PlayStation 5, and for a measly $1,000 subscription, you can read about it. Now thankfully, people have pulled the info and it's currently making the rounds online, so we can all speculate on it. Now this site did report that Nintendo was working with Nvidia on the Switch, then the NX with the Tegra processor deal, so this isn't like, some random person with no credibility. However, as with any rumor, you have to take them with a grain of salt. Now here's some of the key points stemming from discussions around the article, some GPU and CPU insight. You gotta get those flops, boys. It's all about the teraflops, right? Xbox One X, right? The CPU in these systems, I will say, definitely needs more attention than it got this past gen. As we all know, the bottlenecking from the CPU side of things really did hold a lot of games back. But this is what's rumored here. Now, this suggestion of a 2018 release seems to be a key point many people are speculating on. In my opinion, who in the hell would think this is a good idea? I'm not saying it's impossible, but it certainly wouldn't be good. Now, they are only speculating this off of the fact that they're saying a lot of dev kits have gone out already, which that would be a good thing. The earlier you get those things in the developer's hands, the more games you can have out at launch, or, within that first year or so, which tends to be the driest time for these systems. But yeah, 2018 just seems totally insane to me. The PS4 is about to see one of its best years, possibly its best year, in terms of game releases. God of War is coming in the next couple of weeks. We learned Spider-Man is due out in September. You would be crazy to pull attention from this system anytime soon. People are going to be buying PS4 still to play some of these games as well. I think you would have a lot of angry customers if you dropped a new system in 2018. And there's certainly no one demanding it that I see. I don't see anyone like, yeah, we really need that new PlayStation to get here already. And this is especially coming from a Nintendo fan who remembers limping towards the Switch with the Wii U. That was a time that fans were really desperate for a new system. The only thing I could think of that would help them pull this off, if they did do 2018, which I don't think is happening, but the only way I could see them pulling it off would be to offer backwards compatibility and even further, quote, enhanced versions of these games, which is something I do hope happens with the PS5 when it drops. I don't know how many of you are thinking as much about the backwards compatibility potential of the next-gen systems, but think about this. We have all these enhanced games right now with the PS4 Pro and Xbox One X, many of which offer a selection of options on how to actually enhance them. A higher frame rate, higher resolution, better effects. It's sort of like PC settings, but you can only crank one up at a time. It seems like a no-brainer to me that these games should be running on next-gen systems with all of these options on at once. God of War, 4K and 60 frames per second. Spider-Man, 4K and 60 frames per second. Offering people an even better experience with their current library makes the upgrade easier than just saying, oh, you need to start from scratch in terms of your games for the new system. This is the only thing I could think of that would ease the burden of a new system in 2018, but I don't see it happening. Then there's been this talk, I don't know how much of it actually came from the original article at this point, but the potential of VR being baked into the console itself. If they are going to go hard on VR, and I think that is certainly a possibility with them doing pretty well in that space already, I think having it built into the console would be a necessity. One of the biggest problems I have with the current PSVR, besides the fact that I just don't care for it much, is the setup is obnoxious. With all the wires, you've got the PlayStation camera, the processor box, all this stuff. It's a pain to deal with. Now, I don't think we're at the point where we can have a wire-free setup, a wireless headset for VR just yet. But getting the other junk inside the console with like a single cable going from your headset to the console, that would be much, much better. You'll probably need an eye or something like that to track you still as you move. I get that. But even still, it would make much more sense, be much more viable if we could just get all that other stuff inside the console. But if they do in fact do this, it would tell me they're going to go hard on VR next gen. Which brings up the question, well, would that be a smart move? Now, I don't think they'd make the Kinect mistake and force you to buy a headset with the console, but putting these elements into the console will have costs in itself. As I've stated in the past, I do think there is a future for VR gaming. I do. And it does seem like we're getting closer to that future, but it is a game of inches. I've still only played a handful of games that felt like actual games, not tech demos, that I actually really enjoyed. And beyond finding people who are really into it, you've still got many who experience things like motion sickness and the like, who will see no value in it, and it's expensive. Yes, PlayStation has been able to offer the most affordable form of VR, but it's still not that cheap. I'm kind of just thinking here, because here's the thing, the just straight up, oh, we've got the bestest graphics deal, I do think that's losing its luster fast. These companies need to start going in some different, more interesting directions. The Switch is so successful because it offers a different gaming experience, but I think handhelds are a much more time-tested thing than VR. That's why personally I've said, with like the added power route, I'm more interested in stuff like advanced AI and new mechanics in games that just weren't possible before. That sort of stuff interests me way more than graphics, but VR does certainly offer something different in terms of a gameplay experience. Here's what I'll say. I think VR can be an even bigger success for Sony next gen if the technology is improved. Another thing that a 2018 release wouldn't really suggest to me as much is a much more high quality VR experience. The graphical quality of the headset on the PS4 is laughable, in my opinion, honestly. I don't think any VR is really there yet in terms of the visuals, which is what concerns me. Those resolutions need to be bumped way up if I'm going to sit there for a long time, but more importantly, we need some real games. Not games, again, that are like tech demos, not real AAA games that just have a tacked-on VR mode. Stuff like the game I always bring up with VR, Resident Evil 7. If you had like 3 Resident Evil 7 level experiences right from the start or like within the first few months, I could see VR catching on with more people. But if you do a big PS5 unveiling, put an emphasis on VR, and it's the same shooting gallery, walking simulator garbage, no one's going to care. They don't care about this stuff now. The draw of just feeling like you're in the game, it's dying. Now people want actual games to play while they're inside. But I could see it working because in terms of your typical games, you know, obviously you can't abandon your standard games, but I think Sony did great this generation. More of the same is what I would tell them with the PS5. More Horizon Zero Dawn, more Yakuza, more Persona, assuming these upcoming games will be as good as they look. More God of War, more Spider-Man, more Last of Us, etc. I think they're good on the regular games front. So yeah, in terms of offering a separate hook, I think VR could be the key for them going forward, but man, they need some stellar games and an overall better VR experience, but you know, we'll see. And with that, this video is a wrap. Let me know your thoughts on these possible PS5 rumors in the comments. What do you think about VR potentially being an even bigger focus next gen? And do you think there's actually a chance we'll see this thing in 2018? My money, if I'm gonna, you know, put up or shut up and actually say something, I don't think it would be a good idea for this thing to release anytime before holiday 2019. As always, I'm John Zakari, and thanks for watching.